On today's menu is a fragrant lamb and rice recipe. The preparation is not so elaborate like making a biryani, and sometimes I feel it tastes better than a biryani. Namaskar and welcome to Curries with Bumbi. The very first thing you need to do is to make a broth. I have used lamb, but you can also do this recipe with goat or chicken. You need to use meat with bones or else the broth won't be as flavorful. I've used shoulder pieces. You can use leg pieces or a combination of both. Please note that you need large chunky pieces. Next, the aromatics, ginger and garlic. The ingredient proportions are given in detail in the description box below the video, so no worries. Here is mace. It is extremely aromatic, so I used only one. Then 2 tablespoons of coriander seeds, that is dhania, 1 tablespoon of cumin seeds, that is jeera, half a tablespoon of fennel seeds, that is saunf, 1 black cardamom that gives a smoky flavor. If you cannot get black cardamom, use 3 to 4 green cardamoms. Then this is nutmeg, which I have whacked into 2 pieces, half of which will go in this and the other half will be used later. Next, a dry bay leaf, 1 teaspoon of black peppercorns, 2 tablespoons of salt. I am adding more salt now as the rice will also get cooked in the broth. Then a 2-inch length of cinnamon stick. Now my friends, all this while the stove wasn't on. Now I will switch on the stove and stir everything on medium-high heat. You will see some water coming out of the meat. We need to wait till that water dries up and the color of the meat changes. Stirring the meat along with all these aromatics makes it flavorful. I find the smell of lamb to be too strong, so I always apply about 2 to 4 tablespoons of yogurt on the meat and leave it for a minimum of 1 hour or overnight in the fridge. Then I rinse it before cooking and the yogurt really takes care of that strong smell. But you do not have to do this. Do try it if you are bothered by that strong smell of lamb. Okay, after stirring for a few minutes, when the color of the meat changes, add a tablespoon of ghee and stir for 3 to 4 minutes on medium-high heat. You can also use oil if you do not like ghee. Then add a small whole onion along with 5 cups of hot water. I always use a pressure cooker when cooking lamb, but you can also cook it in a pot. Pressure cook it for 30 minutes or 35 minutes if using an instant pot. You want the meat to be about 90% cooked. In the meantime, let's make a spice powder blend. There is that other half of nutmeg, mace, cloves, green cardamoms, 1 star anise, 2 black cardamoms and black peppercorns. Take out the seeds of the black cardamom and discard the outer shell. When it comes to green cardamoms, you do not need to discard the outer shell because it is not as thick as black cardamoms. Now we need almost a fine powder. And my friends, this spice powder blend is one of the most important ingredients for this recipe. You can make a large batch and use it for cooking chicken or any other meat curry. Use it in place of garam masala powder. Coming to the next prep, that is yogurt. Take out the yogurt from the fridge nearly 30 minutes before starting with this recipe. Using too cold yogurt will lead to splitting of the milk solids, though it won't matter if it splits for this recipe, but I would say it is a matter of practice trying to allow the yogurt not to split. Also remember to stir the yogurt very well to a smooth consistency. Next, moving on to the rice. Use basmati rice for this recipe. Always wash your rice very well about 6 to 7 times until the water runs clear. It is a very crucial step when cooking pulao or biryani. Soak the rice for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, drain all that water and keep it in a colander or strainer so that the water drips off. After 30 minutes of pressure cooking, switch off the heat and allow the pressure to be released naturally. After that, open the lid. The meat has got soft and it will get softer when it gets cooked with the rice. Now separate the meat in a bowl and pass all that broth through a strainer. Discard all that you see in the strainer. You do not need all that. What you need is only the broth, and it is so flavorful from all those spices and meat. So after measuring, I am left with a liter, that is 4 cups of broth. I like to debone the meat as that's how my family prefers having it. Remove any whole spices that may be sticking to it. Finally, coming to making the pulao. Add 4 heaped tablespoons of ghee and 2 tablespoons of oil. Add finely sliced onions before the oil gets too hot. If you add the onions when the oil gets hot, then the onions will brown as soon as they hit the hot oil, and that is not the correct way to brown onions. For caramelizing onions, you need to be patient and bring that brown color gradually. Fry the onions on medium-high heat first, then when you see them getting these little specks of brown along the edges, lower heat to medium and stir them continuously so that they brown up all together at the same time. Or else some of them will brown up earlier than the others, and by the time the not so brown ones get browned, the ones that were already brown earlier will burn and will become bitter. And we are not looking for a bitter lamb pulao today. See, when the color starts to deepen, lower heat to very low or switch off the heat of your stove to prevent further browning. Separate out a little bit from here. You will need that for the final dish. Now take a ladleful of that broth and add it to the onions immediately to stop the onions from getting browned up further. Switch on the heat if you have switched it off earlier. Add 2 dry bay leaves and a small cinnamon stick. Add the meat. A teaspoon of cumin seeds go in. Then the yogurt and the aromatic spice powder blend. Stir on medium heat with gentle hands so that the meat doesn't turn into shreds. That's why try to cook the meat when it has turned almost soft but not fully soft. Next, the greens. I used 8 to 10 mint leaves and about 2 tablespoons of chopped coriander leaves. Then the broth tumbles down along with a cup of warm milk. Finally, the rice goes in. Milk is optional here. You can use an additional cup of water when making the broth if not using milk. I used 3.5 cups of rice in which I added 4 cups of broth and a cup of milk. Milk brings in a richness to the dish, so I love adding it. Taste the liquid now and it should taste salty. If it doesn't taste salty, then your rice will be under-seasoned and will taste bland. So remember, my friends, taste the liquid now, and I added another teaspoon of salt. Next, cover it on medium heat till the rice comes up to a boil. When it starts boiling and you see the rice grains coming to the surface, give a gentle stir. I like adding a teaspoon of Kewra water, which is a fragrant floral extract. If using Kewra essence, just add a drop because it is more concentrated. Kewra water is optional. You can also use rose water or saffron or just leave it out. I again added a handful of chopped coriander leaves along with 3 whole green chillies. You can add more according to your preference. Always use a large, wide pot so that the rice grains have space to expand. Using a smaller pot will make the rice sticky and gloopy, and they won't find the space to expand. Now fold a kitchen towel around the lid of your pot and fit it on the pot. Keep the pot on the lowest heat possible for 15 minutes and do not open the lid in these 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, taste a few grains of rice. If you feel it is still too chewy, then sprinkle about 4 tablespoons of water and again cover and keep it on low heat for 5 more minutes. My rice was fully cooked, so I didn't need to do that. I switched off the heat immediately, but remember to keep it covered on your counter for 15 minutes. And my friends, please make sure not to allow anybody to lift up that lid in these 15 minutes to catch even a glimpse, because that residual heat will be doing all the magic to fluff up your rice. After 15 minutes, lift off and see how those rice grains are looking so beautiful. Take a flat, thin spatula and with very, very gentle hands, start from one side and fluff up the rice, working your way slowly starting from top and gradually going down. And see how those rice grains are all separate. I added some more chopped coriander and mint leaves along with the brown onions that I had saved earlier. Remove the bay leaf and cinnamon stick. We had already removed all those whole spices when straining the broth to avoid any whole spice drama at the dinner table. Serve this with a cucumber raita. I have a video on 3 types of raita. Please give me a thumbs up if you found this video useful, and please consider subscribing. Bye bye.